If you're tired of the standard business and marketing fundamentals, frameworks, and funnels, you need a little mischief. Get ready to turn up the volume on the CEO Mischief Maker podcast, where you access conversations with seasoned business owners who have smashed through mindset barriers, innovated the standard boring business and marketing playbooks, and executed future-paced strategies with bleeding-edge tools and tactics to micro-fail their way into massive success and growth. We are Mindset Impact Strategic Catalysts helping innovative entrepreneurs focus. We are CEO Mischief Makers. Ready to make a little mischief? Okay, welcome back to my conversation with Uli. And CEO Mischief Makers, hang on to your hats because we are going to dive quick and dirty into some of the very specific tactics and tools and strategies you can use to take this idea of persuasion and help you ethically move yourself and your business forward. So Uli, I'm just going to open it up. We talked about before 9 different things. I know we're not going to be able to get into all 9, but how do you want to break this into? I think you mentioned 3 different buckets, and then we do have an opportunity for people to find out all about the other 9, and that was actually shared at the beginning of Wednesday's conversation. So take me through it. What buckets are we going to talk about today?
Yeah, so in studying neuroscience, doing my PhD and then working in Alzheimer's research, I really dove into sort of the science behind it. What happens with the chemicals in the brain? How are we motivated? How do we procrastinate? And so from that, I've now abstracted 3 buckets that, the brain likes to tap into to get to an effortless yes. And again, I stand on the shoulders of giants, Robert Cialdini in the 80s. He has done a lot of the work on influence, same with Russell Grangers and a number of other authors that have really built the foundational elements from a perspective of, observing mass consumer behavior in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, etc. But now with the advent of imaging tools, PET scans, etc., we actually know much more about it. And so when you abstract from this, the first bucket is really persuasion prompts that are associated with you as an entrepreneur or as the practitioner, the doctor, that are really related to you and your personality. And so the next bucket is really based on the product or program or the service that you delivered. It has mostly to do with that. And then the last bucket is really based on the consumer or the patient, and it's mostly based on what they do. So if we start with this first bucket, the entrepreneur-centric bucket, there's 3 different prompts available. The most powerful and most common one is authority. And so again, we talked about evolution trying to optimize for 2 things. Number 1, the brain wants to optimize for survival. So, AKA keeping you safe. And the other one is about optimizing for energy efficiency. How can I spend less energy, less thinking energy each day on this? And so when we're thinking about authority, take the example of a lawyer or an accountant or doctor. When we see an accountant, we will defer to the accountant on all matters of accounting because we know this is what they're studied for. This is what they've spent all their life doing. They have studied the tax code. They know all the different deductions you can take. For you as a consumer, it would be ill-advised for you to try to learn the IRS tax code and do your tax return yourself. So we defer to the accountant to know what's best for us. Same with a doctor. The moment you see somebody with a white lab coat and a stethoscope around your neck, we defer to the doctor for any decisions on health. The doctors say, take this pill, it will get you better. We just nod and take the pill. So whatever these authorities say, our brain knows, okay, no need for me to investigate this, just say yes. They know what's good for you. That they know how to keep you safe. And so again, there's a reason that these 3 professions, there's an professional credentials, there's all these licensing standards. These doctors, their first rule is you have to keep the patient safe. You can't mess with their health. The lawyer is sworn by the Bar Association. You have certain standard that cannot negatively impact your clients. You have to do right by them. And so this is one of the areas that as an entrepreneur, you want to look at, how can I increase my authority status? You know, when people look at me, what are the insignias of authority? And it's funny enough, you getting on TV could mean so many more than all the credentials and accreditations that you get. It doesn't matter how many credentials you have on after your name. If you're on television, network television, that counts way more. So we have to really think about, what does the consumer need to see? How does the consumer actually know you're a doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant? And so that's why all the lawyers in their videos, they have their diplomas from university behind them. So think about, what does it look like to be a lawyer? How do I need to dress? How do I need to speak? What's the professional environment? And then behave like this. So again, a lot of people doing TikTok. I tell all my doctor clients, well, if you want people to believe you, put a white lab coat on there and record your TikToks in this, because people subconsciously equate that white lab coat. You're a doctor, you went to medical school, you had residency, I can trust what you say. And so again, the brain routes what you say as an authority to, okay, this is safe to say, let's move forward with that.
Yes. Wow. Yes. And that's just the first bucket. That's just you, or you, if you're an agency owner, if you're an entrepreneur yourself and trying to have your own authority, or if you're trying to help your clients have authority, you need to think of how they're perceived as that authority automatically by their prospects. Okay.
Exactly.
Makes total sense. I think we got that. Take us to the next one.
Yeah, so the next part in the 9 persuasion prompts for an easy yes is the program-centric or service-centric part. So ultimately, it's your product, your service, and you know, what do we know about your product service that would make other people to say yes? So I pick one: social proof, a very powerful, very common one. So if somebody is using a service, and we look at Google reviews and they have 5,000 reviews. If you go to a restaurant and you see, here's a restaurant with 400 reviews and here's a restaurant with 4,000 5-star reviews, what does this tell your brain? Again, we talked about the brain wants to keep you safe and wants to optimize for energy efficiency. So now, keeping you safe, how do I keep my brain safe for making a better restaurant choice? I look at the guy, I go to the 5-star 4,000-star review restaurant, I will likely have a good experience. I won't get disappointed. And so again, as an entrepreneur, realize that the more testimonials, the more case studies, the more reviews you can generate for your business, it helps the consumer's brain to make an easy yes. Oh, here is 4,000 people that said amazing things about your company, about your product. Amazing. Here's another company, same product, probably maybe even better, but only 4 reviews. And then the consumer saying, that's dicey. Not saying that it can't work, but the chance that I make a wrong choice is much higher with a company with 4 reviews. So I'll go with the other company. So this is what's so annoying for professionals, that, you know, they have the most amazing credentials, but no social proof that what they do work. And so that's why consumer shun them, because it's their brain saying, keep me safe. I don't want to waste my time, energy, money on something that may not work. I don't want to take a chance. Let me go with what's safe. And so again, as entrepreneurs, we have a very conscious choice to amp up social proof to make it a lot easier for people to say yes.
So really what we're talking about here is decreasing the risk. Both of these, the first one and this, is decreasing risk, but this is more of the herd mentality. This is more, well, everyone else likes this, so it must be good, so it's not as much of a risk for me.
Yep.
Whereas authority is, oh, this person has a certain look, has a certain diploma, has a certain authority. It's less of a risk. This is much more the members in a group. I want to belong to the members in this group, and it's less risky if I belong to the members who a lot more people like this than this, so I'm going to go with that. It's our natural herd mentality. It's our natural group or membership mentality that keeps us safe.
Yep.
I get it.
Yep.
Absolutely. Now, I have to put a wrench in this, and I'll talk about this when we're done. But if your market, if your audience is entrepreneurs by nature are more risky, are take more risks. So you need to think of who you're talking about. Right now, Uli's been talking about consumers. That's a very different audience than if you are working with entrepreneurs. Now, with me, I am contrary. I will almost always go the opposite of what the group is saying. And that is my nature. And that is a lot of entrepreneurs. So if you're looking at an entrepreneurial audience, you need to flip this a little bit and be a little contrary, because you're going to attract those people who are futurists, who are the ones that want to take the risks. So yeah, just be mindful of that. I don't know if
Yeah,
you.
and ultimately it's about mixing. The more of these 9 prompts you can layer on, obviously if you just did authority, that's great. But imagine if you now pair authority with social proof and any of the other 6 prompts in the first 2 buckets, it's going to be much more powerful. And ultimately, every consumer, every audience member is different. They respond differently to different cues. And so if we're layering everything on top of each other, you have the most powerful combo. Now, if we switch to the last bucket, this is what I call the patient or consumer-centric bucket. This is really predicated on the buyer, the consumer itself. And the most powerful of probably all of the 9 persuasion prompts is hopes and dreams. If you can really tap into the hopes and dreams and desires and fears of your audience and address this, you have the most powerful conversation possible, because this is really going to the core of what they desire, aspire to in life. And so this is one of the key, I call it the persuasion prompt that rules them all. If you had to pick one, I would say pick this one, because it's the most powerful one, because we care about ourselves. It's our innate survival instinct. We try to optimize what's good for ourselves. So if your product can be attached to their dreams and desires, help achieve the dreams and desires, or help them address their fears or problems and move them forward, this is one of the most powerful drivers, because you, evolutionary speaking, tap into their survival mode, and you just position or attach your product service to their innate desire, what they want in life. And so again, we have to really think from a marketing perspective, what does this mean? From our messaging, what is their hopes and dreams and desires? If we don't understand it, then obviously we can't verbalize what's going on. And again, from a market research perspective, if you're in business, you see the same trends. You don't know exactly which person is thinking what about their dreams and desires, but depending which state you're in, you probably have certain proclivities, politically, religiously, how you think about family and friends, what's important in your life. If you're probably in Silicon Valley, you may be a more, high achieving vice president, and your career is the most important thing. If you live in another state, friends and family and health and wellness may be the most important thing. So you can craft these avatar collectives who are saying, hey, 80% of my audience either values this or that. So then in your marketing, we can really talk about what that is. And again, in this guide, the 9 persuasion prompts for an easy yes, we have way more examples how to practically implement it, and talk about the other 6 prompts we didn't have time to chat about.
Yeah, but even with this last one, this one is really the one that probably most people have the most problem with, and that is because they want to be able to cover everyone. They don't specifically focus on one. And so what you're talking about is focus on that one. Focus on the dreams and desires of this particular group. Because the more you think about, if you say you want to have a better life, well, nobody's going to respond to that, because that's not specific enough to their specific dreams and desires. So
Exactly.
here is the one where you need to embrace who you want to serve and know who they are, know what their pains and their desires are, and be able to speak to how you can help them with those. And if you can't do that, you're not going to be able to take advantage of this most powerful persuasion technique. Wow. All right. So Uli, any last piece of advice that you can give to the entrepreneurs listening to really be able to move themselves and their business forward using persuasion?
Yeah. At the end of the day, persuasion is really related to communication, and it's about optimizing communication. So whether it's you looking at your customers, you interacting with friends and family, ultimately understanding how people's brains work is so key. But ultimately, and I think you agree with me, it's about these one-on-one conversation. At the end of the day, it's the one-on-one conversation that will make the difference how people actually interact. And so as a technologist, I am really happy that technology has moved to the point where we can now have technology assist us having more one-on-one conversation. This is why I think patient pipelines, prospect pipelines, technology that enables one-on-one conversation is so crucial, because ultimately you can't really make your case with these 9 persuasion prompts if you don't have a one-on-one conversation. And so, yes, some people talk about the concept of social selling, where you have conversations on Messenger, and it's the exchange over a couple of text messages that leads to a sale. This is how humans make decisions. It's the one-on-one conversation, and we need to have more of this, and we need to let technology assist in this. But ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what persuasion comes down to.
Okay, hold on. If your mindset was shifted, you were inspired to innovate, and you were spurred into action, don't just move on with your day. Focus, my friend, and take a few minutes to visit ceomischiefmaker.com to learn more about the value that was shared with you today. Please act now and create some CEO mischief of your own.